Hello, 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 Trashcan Games here, and welcome to Gaming News. This is a hairbrush, I know. I couldn't just grab the mic and do this. But anyway, welcome back to another one of these video game discussion things where I want to talk about video games and, talk about the upcoming stuff for future gaming. And this one is something that I'm very, very hyped for. Not just this video in general, because there's actually a few subjects that I want to talk about, but also just the first one in general. This is the one that I am very anticipated for. But before I start talking about this, thank you guys so much for 1K views. That Spider-Man video finally reached 1,000 views. Maybe a little over. I have to check the analyst completely, but thank you guys so much. That really meant a lot to me. And with the amount of subscriber gain that I got, it's small progress, and I really, really appreciate it. And also, one more disclaimer, if you're wondering why I'm going to be using toilet paper a lot to wipe my face, it's because June weather. It is hot as hell in here. Literally, it's freaking hot in here, and I don't have an air conditioner, sadly. Or at least so I gotta stick with a fan, which I'm not blowing into the mic because I don't want it to make a lot of noise. But anyway, first topic of the news is one of my favorite games. One of my favorite, probably up there on my top 5. This game means a lot to me. The Last of Us. The first The Last of Us game is finally, it's getting remade. Which, at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of a little discouraged because the game doesn't really need remade. If you've seen the original gameplay, the game by itself, and this is a PS3 game, the original game by itself was phenomenal. Like, with pictures like these, and this, and this, and this, that's PS3 graphics. Which, and the thing I loved about The Last of Us 1, obviously, was obviously not the graphics, but the story and how it presented itself. And the game being on PS3 was a milestone for me, at least. It was one of the best looking games that I've seen on the PS3. But what I'm really going to be talking about is it's being remade on the PS5. No surprise, not surprisingly. I expected that at least. But it's also being currently in development for the PC, which is what I'm the most hyped for about it. Because I have the PS3 version, I don't have a PS4, I played the remastered version on the PS4. It plays a lot better than the PS3 version, because the PS3 version sometimes got a little not laggy, that's expected on the PS3, but buggy. Got a lot of bugs and glitches. And sometimes cutscenes just freeze and just doesn't play all the way through. But having the game being on PC is, for one, it's like Spider-Man, it's like God of War. It benefits me because then I don't have to play the PS3 version, a buggier version. Because I'm not gonna lie, I have it right here. The PS3 version right here is not the greatest version. It's good for it's good, but I think it's about time for me to retire my PS3 version, because I don't want to go online and just buy another copy, unless it gets too crappy and I can't get the PC version right away, because from what I've heard, the standard edition is $70, which is the next step for gaming prices, which I'm not gonna lie is a little ridiculous. I don't know, $70? It is what it is, but for a game like The Last of Us, being completely remade, I am not kidding with you. I've seen the trailer, and it looks almost identical to the original, but at the same time, knowing that it's remade, it's interesting. And I am very, very, very excited to see what it has to offer, especially on PC. From what I know, it's not being released at the same time as the PS5 version, which is kind of sad, but it's understandable. It's a PS5, it's a PlayStation icon, it's a PlayStation classic. Have it being released on the PlayStation first, and then PC. At least I know that the PC version is being in development. It is not a rumor, it is not anything, it's not being hinted, it is actually currently in development. And the PS5 version is being released in 2 months. It's being released in September, which I think is cool. Not 2 months, 3 months, because 2 months is August, and that's when Spider-Man comes out, but we're not talking about Spider-Man. But yeah, The Last of Us 1 is one of my favorite games, and they're calling it The Last of Us Part 1, because the second game was called Part 2, so understandable, and it's kind of a lame name, but you know what? I'll deal with it. But still, first game, complete classic, and now I get to finally probably cry to a lot of the scenes remade. Big sad. Anyway, on to the next topic. Resident Evil 8, or Resident Evil Village, however you want to say it. It is getting its well-deserved DLC. Just earlier, it's been confirmed that in October, we are getting Resident Evil 8 DLC. And a lot of you may not know this, because I don't blame you. I've actually made videos on Resident Evil 8. I played my way through it my second time. I decided to do some videos on it because it was viral at the time, and I thought maybe I can get some hella views. But I figured, hey, maybe I'd get some attractions for it. Maybe some people would like it. Didn't work so well. I was very, very new, and there have been times I was considering just privating that playlist because, let's face it, I don't like it. I don't like it. It makes me cringe at my old self last year. But DLC, and it's not just a DLC campaign, it's adding some features. Mercenaries mode, from what I heard, you were able to play as a few characters. I think the first one that I've heard is Carl Heisenberg, which is the villain Heisenberg. He has the hammer, he has the hat and the glasses. Pretty cool villain, in my opinion. Pretty cool character in general. He reminds me of Dante from the Devil May Cry series. From what I heard, he's a playable character. Chris Redfield, you know, boulder punching asshole, the guy who punches rocks. He punches big rocks. Resident Evil 5 reference. I love Actually, I don't love Resident Evil 5, but I like Resident Evil 5, and it's very, very funny. But yeah, I heard he's in it, but the big selling point is Mommy Milky Lady Dimitrescu, or Lady Dimitrescu. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Romanian, and I'm not fluent, and I'm not good at Romanian names or a lot of European names pronunciations in general. So Lady Dimitrescu, but she is playable as well, and I already know modders are gonna have a hell of a time with that one, because the mods in Resident Evil 8 with Mommy Milky Lady Dimitrescu is some wild stuff. I was actually gonna ironically do a chef's kiss, but that was probably gonna be cringe. But yeah, other than Mercenaries mode, added stuff to it, we are getting a third-person mode, which I was not expecting, actually. If you guys don't know, if you guys haven't seen or played Resident Evil 7 or 8, because it's not just those, they were in first person. You played the eyes of whoever you were playing as. May it be Ethan, may it be Chris Redfield, may it be Jack Baker's brother who punches gators. Actually, he doesn't punch gators. There's a DLC that revolves around a character named Joe Baker from The End of Zoe. I've never played it, but I've seen gameplay. It looks pretty cool. But either way, it was all set in first person, not third. And Resident Evil Village, or Resident Evil 8, however you want to say it, was set in first person, respectively. Unlike its predecessors like Resident Evil 4, 5, 6, and a lot of those that were in a third-person over-the-shoulder camera angle, which, understandable, they fit that tone of it fits those games, but it was in first person for Resident Evil 8. But we're getting a third-person mode, which is going to be so interesting, honestly, because now we get to finally see I'm curious to see how the cutscenes are gonna be. Like, I don't know, from what I've heard, it's gonna be all, like, even cutscenes in gameplay, it's all gonna be third person. And no, it's not a mod, this is actually what's gonna be added in the DLC expansion, which I am very, 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 very interested in. Because I think that'd be really cool, because I was always interested in the whole, playing it in third person, and maybe being able to see Ethan's face. I think that would be pretty interesting. And I know I said interesting a lot, but I am eating well tonight on this gaming news. Seriously. I think third person is going to be a really, really good turn and a new experience for those who want to play the game in a fresh slate, if that's the right way to say it. And also into the other DLC part I think is the final part, is Shadows of Rose DLC, which is a DLC campaign that takes place after the main game. I'm not going to get into spoilers in case you haven't seen or played the game, because I do not want to spoil the experience. It's not the greatest game in the world, but to me, it was a great experience, in my opinion. It's honestly my favorite Resident Evil game. I haven't played it in a while, but you know what? I haven't had time to. But it takes place after the main game. You play as Rose, Ethan's daughter, and you have to discover different horrors or all that. I don't know exactly. I'm trying not to spoil everything because I don't want people to have the ruined experience. But either way, the DLC takes place after the main game, which is going to be really interesting because I want to see how that takes place. That was the main thing that I was really excited for when they announced DLC. And from what I've heard, it's free. They were saying that the DLC was going to be free, but now I'm hearing sources that the DLC is not free. But that'd be really cool if it was free. If it's free, Capcom, that'd be really cool. Because I don't want to spend $30 on DLC if it actually is $30. Maybe it actually is free and I'm just stupid. Maybe just stupid, but you never know. Another bit of gaming news that I want to talk about is the Resident Evil 4 remake. As you guys probably know, a lot of you Ultra gamers out there, Resident Evil 4 is a very big staple in the Resident Evil franchise and a game as a whole. It is, from what I've heard, it is the highest ranked third-person shooter survival horror on Metacritic, which, from what I've seen, it is a really good game, and I can see why. It's a very big accomplishment back in the day, back when it was released on the GameCube and now on the PS2, PS3, Xbox 360. It's been ported more times than Skyrim, but you know what? It's a really good game. But yeah, the remake and everything like that is very, very interesting. From what I've heard, it's a reimagining of the original story. I don't have to, I think that's really cool and all. Thankfully, I have the original game, so if it's not to my standards or whatever, and if I can't afford it, I can at least play the original game. But from what I've seen of the remake, looks really freaking good. Looks phenomenal. And the fact that it's supposed to be like Leon, that it looks more like Leon from the second game, the second remake, and he's a lot more mature, and he still has that like smug, not smug, but that suave Leon from Resident Evil 4 look. It's pretty cool. Really, really cool. Though, I'm not gonna lie, from one of the recent trailers, the voice actor for Sadler, the villain for Resident Evil 4, his voice actor doesn't sound like Raylaw from Skyrim, because if you haven't noticed, guys don't know, the voice actor for Sadler in the original was voiced by Michael Goh. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, but he was voiced by he's voiced by the guy who voiced practically every Nord in Skyrim. It's because that game just reused all sorts of voice actors. Every 10 voice actors. Also, the voice actor for Shrek in the Shrek games, because obviously they didn't hire Mike Myers to voice Shrek in the video game, so they hired Michael Goh, the guy who voiced all of the Nords in Skyrim. So I was a little disappointed on that one, but you know what? I'll deal with it. It's fine. But now I'm not gonna hear his voice and be like, hey, that's Raylaw! That's Jarl Balgruuf! Hey, you're finally awake. You were trying to cross the border, right? But either way, if I'm able to get that and it actually runs really well on my PC, I'll definitely get that, because it's not coming out on PS4 or Xbox One. That gen of gaming is dead, sadly, which makes me a little sad because I got a crappy Xbox One over here that barely likes to work. But you'd get the job done at least. I run Resident Evil 8 on this thing, and it works fine. It's not the greatest system in the world. One last bit of gaming news before I end the episode, and that is the Dead Space remake. You also probably don't know this, but I tried playing Dead Space back in the day, well, back last year in October, during Spooky Month, I wanted to play it, but that was whenever I had, like, a lot of technical issues with OBS, and I had a very complicated setup on how to record my audio properly again, because for some reason, recording audio through my desktop alone had some issues. Everything sounded echoey, choppy, it was terrible. So I had to use my capture card, try to record audio like that. It worked until it stopped working and it got a little annoying, and that's when I stopped recording videos for a little while. But either way, the Dead Space remake looks pretty good. Like, this is a minor topic, and I just figured I'd just put it in there anyway. But the remake looks really, really good. They are really doing really good on reimagining, like, the atmosphere of these old horror games. Kind of like how they were kind of meant to be if they were in the modern gen of gaming, but now they are able to, like, the atmosphere, the lights hitting everything, the spooky hallways, the necromorphs. I think it's really cool. Of course, I'm not in a big hurry for I'm not in a big hurry for the Dead Space remake, because in the Dead Space because I have the original games. I have the original game on my PC. Now, I'm not one who gets mad about frame rate, and because Dead Space the first game is locked in 30 frames. I don't mind 30 frames. I've grown up on a console for years. I can deal with 30 frames. But the Dead Space in 30 frames just felt awful. So thankfully I was able to kind of tweak some settings up to make it worth 60 frames. Try to force VSync through NVIDIA control panel, even though it doesn't work all too well. Because even if I do that and I turn VSync off through the actual game, I have screen tears, so I have to play the game. If I'm able to play the game on windowed mode, it's fine. So whenever I play the game, I have to be on windowed mode, but at least I cap the game in 60 frames, that way it feels a lot more smoother. Because that's the thing about these older games, sometimes older games just don't run really well in 30 FPS. And I don't usually complain about 30 FPS or frame rate in general, as long as it's playable to me. But for something like that, but Dead Space, the camera and everything like that was just abysmal. But anyway, I think this is gonna do for gaming news. And yeah, let me know what you guys thought about all the stuff that I talked about. The one thing I'm really, really hyped about is the Resident Evil 8 DLC that's coming out, because third-person mode is going to be really, really new, and I really want to see how that works out, because first-person feels natural to me in that game, but being able to actually play the game in a new perspective is going to be really, really weird. We finally get to meet Lady Dimitrescu in third person. We get to see Ethan get choked out by Mommy Milky. Jokes aside, obviously. And also the new DLC campaign that takes place after the game. That's also something I'm looking forward to as well. But the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is The Last of Us Remake. That is the one I am looking forward to the most, because I already told you that game is one of my favorites. It's probably my top 5 favorite game, one of my top 5. It's up there in my top 5 favorite games of all time. And I'm so excited to see what the remake has to offer. Because from what I've heard, it's going to modernize the gameplay, add some new changes to the gameplay, because in the second game, they had some really cool stuff like crouching. Crouching was in the original first game, but like being able to like lay on the ground, crawl, and all sorts of stuff. That was cool stuff that was added to the second game. And if that's added into the first game, that would be really cool. And I can't wait for the PC release to be out, because I really love the first game. I really want to see that game in a better state, because the PS3 version, I like it. It's just not the best version. For one, it has a lot of problems. But yeah, those are my opinions. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about it, and let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe to watch more content like this, ring the bell to get notified, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later, and goodbye.